Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of Target Check. And what a disappointing week last week was for me. God damn, I took major L's last week on the market. Honestly, probably my worst week since I'd say January on the markets. And what a time for it to be my worst week. Honestly, exactly where I needed it to be. Probably one of my best weeks. It ended up being my worst week. And that's exactly what the market could do to you. You can never ask the market to have a good week for you because it does not give a fuck who you are 1,000%. You better make sure you follow your strategy, and if it does the move, it does the move, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Simple as that. You can't ask the market to win for you. It will never work like that. Well, this week I'm gonna get started with the first three pairs and the only pairs I traded this week, and I took an L on each of those pairs, which honestly is my first winless week in probably 4 or 5 months, to be honest. So that's pretty sucky for me. And I'm gonna get started with EuroCAD. EuroCAD was the first pair I decided to trade in the week, and it decided to wake me out. Wake me the fuck out. Look at this shit on the 1 hour. 1 hour close, still above my stop. You know, it was tickling it right there. See right there? And then 2 hours started. I mean, the next hour started, and boom, wakes me out. Just goes up. Just goes up. Just goes up. It beats a 1 to 1. It goes over a 1 to 1, 1,000%. Then it retraces all the way down here. It tickles stop loss once again, and then boom, 1 to 2 right here. Honestly, this is not the first time Eurocat has pretty much wicked me out. This has wicked me out, I think, twice in the past. So it is what it is. I already put it in my notes. This is definitely a wick out type of pair. It does the move, but it usually tries to give you a little liquidity grab on the pretty much the 1 hour time frames or the 2 hour time frames. Last time I took a wick out on this pair was a 2 hour time frame. So it is what it is. And I'm gonna get started with AUDCHF, which was an annoying pair for me this week because it was a pair I held the longest. And honestly, while I was holding it, I did not realize that I had missed the actual entry signal, which was on the 1 hour time frame, the time frame that we are on. And it was right here where you guys see this pretty much break of this bearish structure. So if you can see here, it goes bullish. And as soon as you see this structure point right here go bullish, this structure point goes bullish right here. And then if you go down here, it pretty much goes bearish and then it goes bullish again. The good entry right here would be right at this candle once it closes and confirms that the structure went bearish and then went bullish. So then you go here, you go to the long position, you put your stop right under this wick right here. If you want to be safe, you could put it under this wick right here. Let's say you want to be safe and you put it there. Alrighty, you put your risk to reward to a 1 to 2, which is what I always target. And then as soon as you do a 1 to 2, the market still wouldn't have hit it. But at a 1 to 2 or a 1 to 1.5, I have a trailing stop loss rule, where in which I close at above a 1 to 1.5, which this pair did that. So I would have pretty much set my stop loss, and if it would have went down, I would have just taken the 1 to 1.5 and taken the W. Instead, I did enter this late. I did enter this on the 4 hour instead. And even though I waited for the 4 hour, the 4 hour did a big push that I knew was too big in order to take. So honestly, I did not sniper this and not take the correct one down here, which was the actual one we should have taken. Even though I would have taken it down there, it still wouldn't hit my 1 to 2. It would have almost hit a 1 to 2, but still was a better entry than the one I took. Honestly, I missed out on two better entries on this trade, and it did cost me money. I took a partial loss on this one. I didn't take a complete loss, but I did take a partial loss. I stopped myself out right here. Next up is Euro NZD. Euro NZD, honestly, I used a 4 hour to enter, and it was pretty clean. Honestly, it was one of the cleanest pairs I had traded in a while. Sorry, the 2 hour time frame was the one I used. As soon as I pretty much got this break right here, I decided to enter, and I thought this did a little head and shoulders, boom, and it was gonna go straight to the downside. And as soon as I entered, it did play with me a little bit. It went down to the 30 minute, and it did a bullish engulfing. I said, oof, we're set. We're gonna get straight into TP negative. Slowed down right here on this candle and did a beautiful move to the upside. Honestly, I should have done a reaction trade on this one and seen that the market wanted to go to the upside and probably switched my thinking process and should have gone for a long. But I'm still testing that strategy out, so I'm not ready to put that into action just yet. And that was pretty much the three pairs I had entered for the week. I'm gonna move along to the pairs I didn't enter and what I was looking for them. And on AUD, NZD, I was pretty much looking for the sell. I told you guys I wanted for this to retrace, and as soon as it retraces, I wanted to find the sell at once the market stops. This market did not stop for the whole week. It now did the last two slowdown candles on Thursday and Friday, so it might be cooking up for the sell for next week. If you guys look here, you see the 4 hour. The 4 hour right now, in my opinion, if I were to enter this, I would wait for this to pretty much break above this structure, go more bullish, make a higher high, and then as soon as it does that, wait for a bearish structure break, and then as soon as you get that structure break on the downside, you enter the short. That's what I was looking and never did it this week. So let's move along to Euro USD. Euro USD, I wanted a long on. And to be honest, I gave up on this long on pretty much Wednesday once this candle closed and it went to the downside. As soon as that went to the downside, I didn't even want to look at the market. Euro USD honestly gives me warnings even on FTMO that it doesn't even know where the directions of the market wants to really go. So not my favorite pair to enter or trade, but I thought I was going to go to the upside and it never did. Next up, NZD CAD. NZD CAD, I wanted to get a long on it after it did a retracement either off this support level, and I was not counting on this support level, but it went all the way down to this one. So next week it might be cooking up for that long that I did want. And next up would be USD CAD. USD CAD, I wanted a short on. And I wanted a short on because it does this double top pattern pretty much throughout the whole year that it's been heavily respected for it to go do a move to the downside, at least to get a 1 to 2 target. And I was pretty confident I was going to do it this time, and it did not. Thankfully, I did not enter this trade when it did give me a signal. It gave me a signal, I believe. Let me check. It gave me a signal right here, and I wanted a bit more confirmation on the other time frame. So I wanted the 2 hour to break under this structure instead of this structure, just to be more confirmed. So you see this wick right here. If this wick would have pretty much closed right around here, I would have most likely entered this as a short and maybe would have won, maybe not. But as you can see there, that candle indicated that it did not want to keep going to the downside. And then after the market just decided to keep riding up, and I never entered the string. AUD USD. AUD USD. I almost entered at this right here. Let me delete this. Sorry. I almost entered at this point right here, but it never did the shift I wanted to go to the upside, which would have been right after this bearish engulfing would have pretty much been disrespected and gone to the upside, which is right here. And it did it right when 5 in the morning hit, and that was a good 4 hour closure. And I decided not to enter just because I knew that AUD CHF was going to the downside, and since an AUD is losing power, it should have lost power on any other pair too, and that's exactly what it did right here. So that's kind of like a cross pair correlation type of analogy in order to decide if you want to enter a trade or not sometimes, and it did me a favor and it did not make me take this L. Next up was AUD JPY, which it did the move early on in the week. It did a beautiful move, to be honest. Right here was the entry signal. If you would have taken this entry signal, you would have hit a beautiful 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5, whatever you would have aimed at. After 1 to 1, it was pretty much pretty clean. And I did not enter this trade just because if you go to the daily and the weekly, it was pretty much at the top of its very history. So I did not want to get into this trade just because it could have gone to the downside anytime soon. And it did just that as soon as that candle closed on Tuesday. So those were the markets that I looked at for the week.